Have you ever stopped to think about the cost of all the military gear of a Roman soldier? Behind the legionary's armor was a financial reality that few people know about. First, we need to understand that a Roman soldier's weapons were not a gift from the state. During the first centuries of the Roman Republic, the soldier had to pay for his own equipment. The type of weapons and armor he used depended on his wealth. The richest could buy bronze armor and high-quality swords. The poorest, on the other hand, had to make do with simpler gear, such as a wooden shield and a spear. The system changed around 107 BC with the reforms of the general Gaius Marius. To solve the shortage of men eligible for the army, Marius began recruiting volunteers, including the poorest citizens who owned no land and therefore could not pay for their own equipment. From that moment on, the Roman state began supplying standardized equipment. However, the cost of the weapons, the armor, and even food rations was deducted from the soldier's pay. He didn't need to have the money for the initial purchase, but in the long run, he was the one who paid for his own gear. The deduction system continued through most of the imperial period, but things changed again from the 3rd century AD onward. The empire began facing constant economic and military crises. The army grew in size, and the need to equip new recruits, many from even poorer backgrounds, became urgent. From then on, the state fully assumed responsibility for paying for and supplying the weapons. The great military workshops became a vital part of the imperial economy, mass-producing arms for an army that depended increasingly on the state to sustain itself. But in this video, we'll focus on the High Empire period, between the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, when the army was a professional force and the costs of equipment, even though deducted from pay, give us a clear picture of the value of each item. In that period, a legionary's annual salary was 225 to 300 denarii, but that amount suffered various deductions, since the soldier had to pay for his own food, clothing, and of course, his equipment. To get a sense of purchasing power, 1 denarius could buy about 8 kilograms of wheat, which shows that the salary wasn't very high and every coin mattered. Although mass production in the workshops kept costs lower, high-quality materials and skilled labor still made the equipment expensive. The gladius was the legionary's primary weapon and could cost about 15 denarii. For a soldier earning 300 denarii, that sword represented roughly 5% of his annual pay. The pilum was the heavy javelin the Romans hurled before close combat. A single pilum could cost about 2 denarii. A soldier would have to spend 4 denarii to have 2. So in the context of a 300 denarius salary, the pila cost under 1% of the annual wage. The lorica segmentata was the most iconic armor of the Roman army, used mainly in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, and it was the most expensive item for a Roman legionary. The plate armor could cost from 50 to 60 denarii, an enormous outlay amounting to around 20% of a soldier's annual pay. The scutum had a cost similar to the gladius, at about 15 denarii, representing 5% of annual pay. Finally, as for helmets, their design varied over time, but most were metal with cheek guards. A good helmet could cost about 10 denarii, around 3% of annual pay. The sum of all these costs for a new recruit was high. A complete kit, including the gladius, 2 pila, the lorica segmentata, the galea, helmet, and the scutum could cost more than 100 denarii, or about a third of a soldier's annual salary. It's important to be clear that there isn't a single Roman document, like an official price list, that tells us exactly how much each weapon cost in a specific year. The figures we've used here are based on a consensus of studies and analyses by modern historians and archaeologists, who draw on a combination of indirect sources. For example, authors like the military writer Vegetius describe the equipment and its importance. Other texts, such as Emperor Diocletian's edict on maximum prices, although from the end of the empire, provide prices for various goods and services, helping to sketch a general picture of the economy. In addition, analyses of weapons and armor found in Roman forts and cemeteries give us information about the materials used and the complexity of their manufacture, which helps estimate the cost of labor and materials. But it's obvious that Roman soldiers didn't need to replace their gear frequently. The soldier was responsible for maintaining and repairing his own equipment. They would only need to buy a new item if it was lost or irreparably damaged in battle, which meant more expense. But in general, soldiers took good care of their armor, applying oils or grease to it, creating a protective layer that prevented rust. Leather had to be treated regularly to keep it from cracking, especially after exposure to rain or humidity, which could weaken the shield. Repairs to the shield, such as replacing damaged coverings, were common, since the scutum often took direct blows during battle. But I also want to know your opinion. What kind of Roman soldier would you be? One of those who prefer to buy everything new, or would you keep your old armor in top shape? Leave your opinion in the comments, and if you like this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video.